Hey, what's up, guys? This should be a quicker video. I'm basically just going to demonstrate what it looks like when you use class tracking to separate the expenses for each individual truck that you have on your fleet. So, if you have a trucking company and you have more than one truck, basically, if you have two trucks, you might want to keep track of which one is performing better. And the best way is to use class tracking. So if you want to set it up, you have to upgrade to at least QuickBooks Online Plus, and then just set out individual classes for each truck. So to get that going, you go to the gear icon in the top right, and then there should be accountant settings at the top here, and then you'll click on advanced over here. And then when you scroll down, you should see the categories, and then the class tracking is right here. So you can either have a warning so that you don't miss putting in a class each time you do a transaction, and then you want to have it assigned to one to each row. That way, if you pay for an expense and it needs to be split between 2 or 3 vehicles, then you're able to do that. So once you get that set up and you come into the bank transactions, and I'm going to do mine for last year to just show you a clean report. But essentially, now you can have this class tracking here, and you can either add the vehicles straight from the bank feed. So if you click on add new, you just put whatever truck number, or if you want to add the last 4 of the VIN of the truck to help you know which truck that you're keeping track of, you can do that. Or if you go back to the gear icon again and click on all lists, you'll see the classes here, and then that way you can have the list in here. So I just labeled mine truck 1, 2, and 3. And then if you ever need to come back in and change the name, you can always just edit it and put whatever you want in there. And then you'll see this new tab right here, and that's how you create the class. So once you get that kind of set up, you can just go ahead and do the normal categorization for each transaction. And I already did a few just to save some time, but we'll just do a couple examples here. We'll just say, you went to the gas station here. So this is for fuel. And I can kind of go over, the chart of accounts in another video if you guys are interested, but for now I just kind of have it all set up. We'll put this to the truck number 1. So that's basically all you would need to do. You just have the same vendor, put your category for what it was, and then just add the truck, and then you'll post it. And we could just do one more for like income. However you want to label, your income accounts. I just put trucking income for now. And we'll say truck number 3 brought this in. All right, so let's go to the report. So I already created a custom report for a profit and loss for 2025. And so you'll see here you have just your basic P&L. And what I would suggest is any kind of direct cost to your truck, I would make it a cost of goods sold. So right now I have fuel, repairs and maintenance, insurance. So anything that goes directly to that truck, I'd make it a cost of goods sold, and then any other overhead costs, payroll, any kind of subscriptions like QuickBooks, meals, any kind of bank charge you might have. You could potentially, if you're paying employees, maybe they're like a 1099, and they're getting some sort of commission, you could put that as a cost of goods sold and then add the truck. Maybe they're specifically assigned to a truck, so that might make sense, so that you can determine that. It doesn't really make a difference for, tax time unless they're directly an employee as payroll. Then you kind of have to make sure that you're doing that correctly. So always get with your CPA, have that discussion. But there's different ways that you can do this, but it's not too complicated. For the most part, it can be set up like this. That way you get your gross profit in your P&L, so you know what you're actually generating as revenue, and then the rest are just overhead. But the cool thing is when you come to the top, this will look a little bit different, but I think for the most part, all the QuickBooks is kind of set up the same way now. But you'll see the displays column by, and you want to choose the class. And now you have your different columns for each truck. So now you can see how much that truck brought in, what the direct costs were, and then that gross profit. And then you have your general expenses in here. I think this one I did put towards a truck. So you could play around with that. What I like to do, when I'm using classes, is I'll create this general account. So any expense that's not directly tied to the truck, I'll just put it as a general expense, or a general class. And then you have this column here for the rest of them. So this is what it looks like. I think it's a pretty good report. It's a little more expensive to upgrade to QuickBooks Plus, but honestly, if you want to really understand how well your trucks are doing, especially for maintenance, I ran a trucking company for almost 10 years, and this kind of reporting would have helped a lot. That would help me determine whether or not it's even worth keeping a truck or putting more money into it rather than just buying a new one. So anyways, hopefully this is helpful. If you guys have questions, always feel free to drop a comment, or I'll leave my socials in the description. You guys are always welcome to message me if you run into troubles or if you just have general questions. But anyways, hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.